Tonight, students and parents protest in support of teachers in a Friday school walkout. Also, an unusually warm winter is impacting businesses and making Regina's Frost Festival a little less frigid. Plus, 101 dogs and puppies are rescued from the Losh.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, February 2nd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. The warmer weather continues across much of the province, and it might make a lot of us want to get outside, but Regina's Frost Festival is, well, not very frosty anymore. And that's not the only outdoor activity being impacted. Tyreek Reed has more.
The ice sculptures in Frost Regina's downtown hub are still here for now, but some of them are already beginning to melt away. The mild temperatures are taking a toll on planned programming for this year's winter festival. The Wascana Lake ice rink had to be closed, and now the one downtown is closed too.
Our ice rink is closed right now. We're hoping that if the weather continues to get colder over the coming weeks, we can still reopen it before the end of the season. However, right now at this time, we just can't keep it open for safety's sake.
The city of Regina has also had to shut down operations at 9 other outdoor rink locations. And Wascana Park officials say people hoping to enjoy time on the ice will have to wait until next year.
At this point in the season, it's just getting a little bit too late. The weather could be a little bit too unpredictable, so we're not going to reopen it this year.
The weather has impacted more than just the Frost Festival. Outdoor sports stores are also feeling the pressure and noticing fewer customers this winter.
This year, we've definitely seen a reduction in people coming through the door with this warmer weather, and just kind of odd weather as well, too. Be it that before January was super warm, and then that super cold stretch, nobody really wanted to cross-country ski or think about buying jackets.
Norgan says he's had to put items on sale to help make up for the loss. Still, he says the damage is already done.
I just don't see the market really bouncing back from that December, January that we were really expecting and hoping for.
As for the festival, organizers say they are hoping people will keep coming out this weekend to enjoy the events that have not been affected by the weather. Those include musical performances, art installations, food, and indoor fun. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Regina.
Well, joining me now is our weather specialist, Ethan Williams. Just how remarkable has this week been?
Yeah, running out of adjectives to describe just how remarkable it has been, Sam. Just a few bullet points here to wrap things up. Of course, we had Maple Creek, a new provincial January high temperature on Tuesday at 21.1 degrees. That is the second warmest national January temperature as well. 79 other maximum temperature records have been set just this week in Saskatchewan. And in Regina, we have had the most consecutive January days above 4 degrees. We had about 2 of those days right at the end of January. And we actually had our warmest February 1st overnight temperature just this morning, hitting only minus 1.1 overnight. Now, keep in mind that when we look at January as a whole, we're talking about temperatures because we had that big cold snap right in the middle of the month. Temperatures actually came pretty close to normal on the month. So a month for the record books, but not when you look at the month as a whole necessarily. And moisture definitely all over the place. The Saskatoon area, you did get about all that you normally get in a January, but Regina, Estevan, up north in La Ronge, very little in the way of moisture, but there is some snow and some rain, Sam, on the way. I'll let you know how much is coming in a bit.
Ooh, I look forward to that. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Regina police are investigating after an industrial accident killed a person this morning. It happened here at a business in the 400 block of McDonald Street. Police, the fire department, and the coroner were all called to the scene. They say 2 people were injured, but when crews arrived, one of them died. The other was sent to hospital, but there's no word on their condition. Occupational Health and Safety is also looking into the incident, which could be considered a workplace fatality. A man is going to prison after he admitted to murdering a stranger in a Saskatoon hospital 2 years ago. Kevin Wichican pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. He randomly attacked Randy Beauchesne with a screwdriver in the hospital's cafeteria. Dan Zakreski brings us the story.
We don't know why Kevin Wichican, in the white jersey, attacked Randy Beauchesne, a grandfather who just happened to be at the hospital that day. The full video of the attack was played in court. The judge heard how Wichican had recently finished serving a manslaughter sentence and was living on the streets. That spring evening, he was high on meth and roaming Royal University Hospital looking for drugs to steal. Randy Beauchesne went to the hospital with his daughter Dania, but had gone to pay for parking. He was waiting in the cafeteria when he was attacked by Wichican. Wichican stabbed Beauchesne 3 times in the head with a screwdriver. The 55-year-old never left the intensive care unit in the hospital after the attack. 2 months later, his family took him off life support. Because he pleaded guilty, Wichican will not be testifying and explaining why he attacked a man he'd never met before. The Crown and Defence made a joint sentencing submission. They recommended that Wichican not be allowed to apply for parole for at least 10 years. The judge agreed. Wichican will be supervised in the community for the rest of his life when he is released. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The founder of the now defunct Canadian Nationalist Party has been sentenced for criminal harassment. Travis Patron was sentenced to 200 days in prison and 2 years of probation. His charges stem from an incident at the Midtown Plaza in Saskatoon. Court heard how he accosted an off-duty RCMP officer and his girlfriend about their relationship. He had asked why he was walking around with a Canadian woman when he was not born in Canada. In his decision, the Court of King's Bench Justice says he didn't mandate cultural sensitivity training for Patron because it was pointless. He says there's no hope for the accused to change his views. Around 100 students in Regina walked out of school in support of Saskatchewan teachers, some of whom took part in rotating strikes earlier this week.
Support our teachers! Support our teachers!
High school students gathered at the Saskatchewan legislature around the noon hour, many saying they're feeling the effects of large and complicated classrooms on their learning. So far, the teachers have taken 3 days of job action to try to force the government back to the bargaining table. 2 one-day full strikes and 1 day of rotating strikes. Both the government and the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation blame the other for stalled bargaining.
I stand with the teachers because having classrooms with over 30 students is very hard to learn in with one teacher, because they're trying to bounce around to every student that has questions, and every student has different learning styles. And for one teacher to try and cope with all of them, plus 4 classes, it's not easy.
In response to concerns about class complexity, the government continues to point to $53.1 million that it devoted to enrollment and complexity for teacher-led solutions and programs. At this time, there's no word about if there will be more job action from teachers. 2023 was a year of high prices and high interest rates in Canada. Data released today shows it was also a year of rising bankruptcies. The report came from the country's top financial regulator. Nisha Patel reports.
Insolvency filings in Canada are piling up, and bankruptcy offices are in demand.
Our uptick in our business has been substantial. Both our consumer practice, which would be individuals and small enterprises, has been extremely busy.
Richard Goldhar is an insolvency trustee. He says steep labor costs and high interest rates are weighing on business bottom lines. Canadian business insolvencies climbed 41% last year.
So you're facing financial trouble?
Many small businesses are struggling with hefty debt taken on during the pandemic. And as the economy slows, retail, construction, and transportation businesses have been hit particularly hard.
We're seeing a very tough economic climate for a lot of businesses. Profits have plummeted. And at the same time, we've seen, I think, these stresses of perhaps the CBC loan repayments due, other stresses coming into play.
Economists warn if the trend continues, the months ahead could be painful.
We may start to see more job losses, and things may start to unravel more quickly than expected. So this is the concern.
Consumer bankruptcies are also rising fast, with insolvencies climbing 23% last year. The crushing cost of living forcing many to take on loans that can be too much to bear.
The high interest borrowing is an absolute issue right now. The cost of payday loans high interest unsecured loans, credit card loan interest. It's just tremendously high.
With many on the financial brink, experts urge consumers to tackle money problems head on.
The sooner you call somebody for any sort of advice, the better off you are.
While it may seem daunting, it may also offer some relief. Nisha Patel, CBC News, Toronto.
Martinsville Dog Rescue has been overwhelmed with support after saving more than 100 dogs from northern Saskatchewan. The dogs were going to be killed in a planned cull in La Loche.
I was sent a screenshot of the notice that was sent out in La Loche. It was probably 2 hours before the event was to begin. I immediately said, I'm just gonna get in a car and go pick up a few, right? Let's just go. Let's just go get 5 dogs, whatever I can fit in my car. And then I mentioned that to another person. And then I mentioned that to another person. And I mentioned that to another rescue. And they said, well, how many can we get? And I said, I don't know. And then it just blew up. Some amazing people gathered together and we said, let's go get them all. And we showed up, and I believe the count, give or take 1 or 2, I think, it was a bit of a crazy night, it was 101 dogs. It's silly, and it's not silly, but we didn't know what was going to happen. We just had to get them out. We didn't want another bullet in another dog. And we brought them here, and everybody that can do even the smallest thing, showing up with some dog dishes that their dog doesn't use anymore, to hundreds of dollars of donations they gathered from companies, to showing up with fence panels, to letting us use the space. There's hundreds of people who've walked through this door in the last 3 days. People I've never met who have just grabbed a mop or grabbed a food dish, and we just hope this is just not only supportive of these dogs, but every dog in these communities that's struggling, and just positivity to communities and just brings some joy.
Well, it looks like we can look forward to an early spring, as if we haven't been already. That's according to the stars of this year's Groundhog Day. Puxatawny Phil towered majestically, Wyerton Willie remained in a meditative calm behind glass, and Shubenacadie Sam's event was more intimate. All agree, though, on an early spring. We'll be back after the break.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
And our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. I feel like anyone in Saskatchewan didn't need to crawl out of a hole to predict an early spring today.
Yeah, we've put all the groundhogs out of business here. That's why we don't have any hanging around. Yeah, it is definitely an early spring in Saskatchewan. And our closest groundhog, by the way, is next door in Manitoba Merv. And there he said, well, actually, there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. And Merv had all his construction tools. He actually lost his screwdriver. He was so surprised by how bright it was. He says, keep those shovels around. You never know. You're not going to need them today, through the province, though, because we are seeing clear skies. No precipitation on radar here, but there is some definitely headed in our direction. Tomorrow, we start to see the cloud cover move into the province in advance of this. Could be a few sprinkles of some freezing rain in central Saskatchewan and maybe even around Saskatoon. But the real show gets going as we head into early Sunday morning. Around midnight, we get some snow moving into the southwestern corner of the province. That begins moving northward and a bit eastward as we head into Sunday morning. Saskatoon, you're right kind of on the rain-snow line here, so still to be determined what you get depending on just how warm or how cold things are. But you see snow mostly along northern and western sections of the province. Regina and the southeast, we will be relatively unscathed from this. We really just have a chance of some precipitation, maybe some rain late Sunday night into early Monday morning before all the snow moves into northern Saskatchewan as high pressure moves away, and that allows that to start moving in. Now, it's going to be kind of tough to determine how much of accumulation we're going to get, specifically because we don't know what it's going to fall as, but potentially anywhere between maybe 5 and 15 millimeters of rain, heaviest of which will probably be in southwestern Saskatchewan. These are likely a little bit of an overshoot. Regina eastward, you see not very much expected here. Snowfall-wise, again, very preliminary, and this may be taking into account some rain here as well, but especially in the Lloydminster to the Battlefords area, we could see maybe 10 to 15, locally 20 centimeters, and maybe some pretty wet snow in there as well. Good for the ground, of course, very dry in this part of the province. And again, east of Saskatoon, though, maybe 2 to 4 centimeters there, but Regina, we're really not expecting any snowfall. For the northern part of the province, snow mostly moves in Sunday into Monday, and again, probably at most 15 centimeters here in a swath from Meadow Lake through La Ronge to about South End, but locally higher amounts possible in that part of the province as well. So for Regina, well, tomorrow will kind of be the last day of it was a bit gloomy today. We might see some breaks of sun and some warm temperatures once again. And then possibly, if we do see the rain, maybe only 1 to 3 millimeters. And then from there, possibly some snow flurries Tuesday, Wednesday, as we see some cooler temperatures. Saskatoon, I'll put you at 2 to 4 millimeters, 2 to 4 centimeters as well, just kind of depending on what we're going to see there. We'll likely have a better idea of what that's going to fall as tomorrow. But then, Sam, cloud cover and some cooler temperatures for next week.
You know, given all that moisture lack of that you showed us earlier, that's good.
Yeah, pretty good news, actually, yeah.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
We know how important international competition is to our players.
The next Winter Olympics just got more exciting. NHL players will be able to go for gold. Canada won gold in the last 2 times the NHLers played, on Sidney Crosby's overtime thriller in 2010 and again in 2014 with Crosby scoring in the final. NHL players weren't allowed in the 2018 games, and COVID ruined plans for 2022. We'll be back after the break. It's been a decade since the deadly collapse of a garment factory in Bangladesh. More than 1,100 workers died in the tragedy, many of them making clothes for Canadians. Among the companies using the factory, Canadian fast fashion giant Joe Fresh. In the aftermath, the Loblaw-owned company promised big changes and to do better for the workers who make their clothes. But an investigation by the CBC's The Fifth Estate raises questions about whether Loblaw has delivered on its promises. Mark Kelly went to Bangladesh and has our story.
Rana Plaza collapsed in just 90 seconds. 1,134 people died. 2,500 were injured. Loblaw promised fair wages and safer working conditions for the people who make their Joe Fresh clothes in Bangladesh.
Our priority is to do what's right for those affected by the tragedy.
This factory makes clothes for Joe Fresh, a Canadian company. Thank you.
But today, a look into safety inspection reports for the factories used by Loblaw tells a different story.
And these are the inspection reports, and you've had ongoing fire safety issues.
In the 21 factories used to make Joe Fresh clothes since 2019, we counted 176 documented safety violations. Then there's the issue of wages.
This is a garment workers' protest that is coming here to the site of the Rana Plaza disaster. They're demanding an increase in their minimum wage. Currently, the minimum wage in Bangladesh is lowest in the region of garment-making countries.
The government recently increased the minimum wage, paying the workers the equivalent of about 75 cents an hour. Lazina Akhtar makes pants for Joe Fresh 11 hours a day, 6 days a week. She makes about $150 a month, well below what's considered a living wage.
I am not happy.
You're not happy.
In a statement, Loblaw says we remain committed to transparency and accountability in our global supply chain to drive positive change and protect the rights and well-being of workers where our products are made.
I think the brands really need to stop their double standard. I think they talk about commitment to workers' rights only as a PR strategy, because they don't want their woke consumers to have to deal with the guilt of buying from sweatshops in Bangladesh.
Today, the site of Rana Plaza is a vacant, overgrown lot, forgotten, like so many of the workers behind the clothes made in Bangladesh. Mark Kelly, CBC News, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Police in BC are investigating after shots were fired at a home in Surrey early yesterday. A group advocating for Sikh independence says a member's residence was hit by gunfire, and it's left the community shaken.
Yeah, it was about 1:30 in the morning, but definitely woke up to, I think, 5 or 6 gunshots. That's what we heard.
RCMP says it's thought to be an isolated incident and no one was hurt. The Sikhs for Justice group says the home belongs to a member of the movement who was associate of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. He was the pro-Khalistan activist who was killed in a shooting in Surrey last June. It triggered a diplomatic spat with India after Prime Minister Trudeau said there was credible intelligence that India's government may have been involved. It's about to cost viewers a little more to watch Amazon Prime Video uninterrupted. It's the latest streaming service to add commercials. Anis Haidari reports on why cheap, ad-free streaming may be a thing of the past.
Amazon Prime Video won't be commercial-free much longer unless you pay more.
If I'm still paying and they're putting ads, then for me that's absolute no-go. If I'm paying money, I don't see any ads at all.
I hate having to be forced to pay to not have advertisement in my face. There's so many subscriptions, it's getting so expensive already.
It'll cost $3 more a month to avoid ads. If customers don't pay up, ads begin on Monday. Experts predict either way, it will be lucrative for Amazon.
You look at the majority of their business, which is really the e-commerce business, a grocery business, a retail business. The margins on that business are 2%. The margins on advertising for Amazon is upwards of 50%.
Netflix made similar moves over the past year. Higher prices for ad-free content. And at Bell Media's Crave, price hikes to keep commercials away.
People don't like ads, but people really don't like bad, irrelevant advertising.
But this ad exec says customers won't mind if commercials are targeted.
And if you give people the right ad at the right time, it's actually a really good trade-off for folks. Another example is the Super Bowl. Nobody likes ads, but everybody watches a Super Bowl ad.
If consumers want to keep their streaming ad-free, they may have to turn off the TV and cancel.
Because this is a kind of new thing, these companies are going to be watching the metrics very closely. And so this is now's the time, if you want to try to make a difference, vote with your dollars.
So far, those votes have led to more commercials, at least at Amazon's competitors. YouTube gained more than $1 billion in ad revenue in just 1 year. And at Netflix, 40% of new signups have also said yes to ads. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your Groundhog Day weather.
Yes, and this one is presented ad-free as well, all the way through. Looking for a temperature around 2 degrees at midnight in Regina, partly cloudy, still a little bit breezy at times. I think we'll see a little bit of cloud cover building back in as we get toward 8 a.m. May also be a little bit of lingering fog like we saw this morning as well. Should be clearing away by noon though. Mix of sun and cloud. Nice temperature for your Saturday at 5 degrees. And in Saskatoon, mainly clear skies tonight. We're sitting at 1 degree. Possibly a little bit of freezing rain overnight, so careful on the roads tomorrow morning as those temperatures sit right at the freezing mark before we are on our way to a nice afternoon, Sam.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to our website or our YouTube channel or go download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend.